Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hello. Bertrand Russell on his meeting with Vladimir Lenin in 1920. I love old videos like this. Or original link to the video top of the description, right below that, link to the Discord. Click on it, send you right over there. Love to have you. Let's go.
I met Lenin in 1920 when I was in Russia. I had an hour's talk tete-a-tete with him. And he spoke English much better than you would have expected. The whole conversation was in English. I expected it to have been in German, but I found that his English was quite good. I was less impressed by Lenin than I expected to be. He was, of course, a great man. He seemed to me a reincarnation of Cromwell, with exactly the same limitations that Cromwell had. Absolute orthodoxy. He thought a proposition could be proved by quoting a text in Marx. And he was quite in Cromwell had. Absolute orthodoxy. He thought a proposition could be proved by quoting a text in Marx. And he was quite incapable of supposing that there could be anything in Marx that wasn't right. And that struck me as rather limited. I dislike one other thing about him, which was his great readiness to stir up hatred. I put certain questions to him to see what his answer would be, and one of them was, you profess to be establishing socialism, but as far as the countryside is concerned, you seem to me to be establishing peasant proprietorship, which is a very different thing from agricultural socialism. And he said, oh, dear me, no, we're not establishing peasant proprietorship. He said, you see, there are poor peasants and rich peasants, and we stirred up the poor peasants against the rich peasants, and they soon hanged them to the nearest tree. Ha, 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 ha. I didn't much like that.
That was interesting about how he would, like, quote, like if you ever, try to get into a religious discussion with someone who is Islamic or Christian or Jewish or whatnot, the kind of need the going to your book to kind of, well, see, here it is. It seems like Lenin was kind of treating Marx's book in the same fashion, which is interesting. Now, this is just from, obviously a very smart person, but from one person, so I'm not going to form my whole opinion here, but that was a really cool video. Yeah, really interesting, and it seemed like there's a few. Tennyson and Browning. Who's Robert Browning? Tennyson is he the poet laureate? I'm not sure actually.
They had more.
Oh, Tennyson was he the one who wrote, like, to not to reason why, but to do or die?
They had more of an aura. I think people, when I was young, had more of the aura of a personage. Now, I knew both Tennyson and Browning quite well, and certainly if either of them came into the room, you would think, here's a personage, especially Tennyson. He always wore a sort of Italian opera cloak when he was out of doors, and he walked along in complete absorption and took care not to see you if you were there, because he was so absorbed in poetic meditation. He was rather a fraud. I thought him a humbug. Browning was not. Browning was because he was so absorbed in poetic meditation. He was rather a fraud. I thought him a humbug. Browning was not. Browning was much more ordinary in a way. My first encounter with Browning was when I was 2 years old. He came to lunch with my people, and he talked the whole time without stopping in a very harsh voice. And at last I, being 2 years old, said, "I wish that man would stop talking." And everybody else was feeling the same thing, but of course they had to say hush, hush. Oh, he was very well groomed, very neat, very tidy. The sort of man who would be pleasant to old ladies. There's a picture of him by McJibbin visiting the Me Society at Cambridge, or something like that, and it gets him very right, with a beautiful top hat upside down beside his chair, very glossy and very smooth. And yes, he was very much a man to be an old lady's darling. Tennyson was portentous and tremendous, and sort of, oh, I don't know. No, I didn't like Tennyson. He was altogether too conscious of himself as a great man. I remember a story that I was told about him when I was young. He'd been going to visit in some country house, and he'd said that above all he did not want to have people coming to see him. He wanted to have quiet time there. And so they took enormous pains to tell all the neighborhood not to call. And towards the end of the second day he said, "Nobody seems to want to see me." I don't think he was exactly liked, but he was immensely admired.
That's fascinating. I love the way he's talking about Lenin and these two guys. It's funny the way he's talking about Tennyson, because now I have just the image in my mind of him just like he like he said he was conscious of his own like fame, or I'm paraphrasing, but he said something Bertrand, that like he was too conscious of his own fame. So I just imagine this very pomp, like, oh, so many people are going to come here today, please tell them to stay away. And then they stay away. He's like, nobody wanted to come see me today. Really interesting. I love these videos. I've always loved them. Alrighty, guys. Hope you're all doing well. If not, chin up. You'll be good soon. Don't worry. See you next time, guys. Bye.